Hi again and welcome to another Wednesday. So this one is going to be a lot shorter, I hope anyway. And I just wanted to make a quick little video on when you need a boundary, and again just remind you a little bit about what a boundary is and what it isn't. So as I said, a boundary is when someone is coming into your personal space and invading it in some sort of way. And I gave the example of you have your house, you have your garden, you have your fencing, and when your neighbor or someone else just comes in uninvited, just walks into first through your fencing and then into your house, they have violated your boundary. And that's quite easy to picture. But when it comes to ourselves, it's a little bit wishy-washy. We don't really know where we can have boundaries. Many people think that boundaries are about changing other people's behavior, but I want to tell you that it's absolutely not. You cannot change other people's behavior. They are allowed to behave however they want. However, the behavior can have a consequence. So when someone is yelling at me, I will leave the room. If I'm in the car with someone and they smoke, I will get out of the car because I don't want to sit in the smoke. That's not good for my health, and I don't like it. I don't like the smell. That is my boundary. So if you choose to do that, this is what I will do. And the same thing with usually we don't have to tell people this, but if you hit me, I am going to call the police, for example. Or if you hit me, I'm going to leave you, call the police, and never ever speak to you again in my whole life. And that's all cool. You can set whatever boundary you want around any issue. You just need to be prepared to follow through. And this is the most common reason that people have for not having boundaries, is that they don't want to follow through. Often we tell people that if you do this, I will do that. We think we have a boundary, and it could be a boundary, but then they do that and we don't follow through. So what you're actually doing is that you're making a little threat that if you do this, I'm going to do that, but then you don't follow through. So it was only a threat, and it diminishes your own self-respect and their respect for you and your boundaries. The next time you tell them that if you do this, I'm going to do that, they're very likely not to believe you, with good reason, I would say. And also I want to mention honesty a little bit. When we say yes to things that we actually want to say no to, for example, we're inviting people to violate our boundaries. So I want to encourage you to just be really honest with what you want and what you don't want to do in your life. When people are asking you to do things, do not say yes and then be bitter about it. Say yes because you want to do it, or say no. You don't have to offer an explanation. It's your life, and you can choose to do whatever you want, just as well as they can choose whatever they want. And so a few things that you can set boundaries around could be, especially with partners, flirting. If they are flirting with someone else, you do not go and say, you cannot flirt with that person. It's not up to you. You might think so because you're in a relationship, but really your partner can behave whatever way they want. It is not your business. It's not up to you. You cannot change their behavior. You have no right to do that. However, what you can say is, if you are going to flirt with someone else, I'm out. I might be leaving you, or I'm just going to leave for now. You can choose whatever consequence you want, but you cannot say that they can't do it, because then you're trying to control them, and that is totally different than having a boundary. You might have a boundary around one of your best friends, for example, might want to gossip about other friends that you have, and you say, no, I don't want to participate in that, for example. That could be a boundary. And what you would do then is that you just wouldn't talk to them about it, or you would just, if it's on the phone, you would just say, hey, I'm not doing this, changing subject, or I'm going to hang up, for example. Your partner might criticize you, or again yelling at you, and you're just going to leave. You don't want to put up with that, and that's all cool. You protect yourself the way that you need to protect yourself. Could be that you have someone who's calling you constantly on their phone, and you feel mean that you're not picking up, but you don't really want to talk to them. And then you need to set the boundary around this and say, hey, I'm actually busy. I would love to talk to you, but can we just decide that in advance when I have time to talk to you, because I need to do some work, or whatever it could be, or I need this time for myself. And hopefully they will respect that boundary. And if not, what are you going to do? Are you just going to ignore the call, or are you going to do something else? That's obviously up to you. What are you going to do? Sometimes people, maybe a sibling, could feel entitled to using your clothes, for example, and you might want to have a boundary around this, and you say, hey, you can borrow my clothes, but only after you have asked me, because they're your clothes, they're in your space, and that is you. And you don't want to have to, maybe you want to use that shirt one day and it's gone. And yeah, and then you could have even worse in a relationship type of situation. If you are having an affair, what am I going to do? Often we don't need to set boundaries until they have been violated. But if you haven't clarified with your partner, for example, that you have a boundary around having an affair, most of the time it's expected. We don't really know what's going to happen if we're having an affair. How is our partner going to react? You don't usually lead with that when you initiate a relationship, with all good reason, I'm sure. However, if they have had an affair, you will have to decide what you want to do afterwards. How do you want to deal with this boundary violation? If you had a violation, if you think it's okay, then it's okay, and then we don't have a problem. That's obviously up to you. But you could also be of the mind of, okay, that was a mistake, so how are we going to repair this? If this happens again, this is what I'm going to do. Then you have established that boundary once and for all. So those are just some examples of what you could have a boundary around. So yeah, I hope that it has clarified this a little bit. And if you have any questions, just post in the comments, and I'm happy to either make another video on it or just reply to your comment, which is just as easy. So thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.